Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In this audio presentation, I will be discussing the fourth chapter from Vistas. The name of the chapter is The Enemy. It is written by Paul S. Buck. Here we will find two important characters. One is the protagonist, who is the doctor. His name is Dr. Sadao Hoki, and another one is the American POW, or we can say the prisoner of war. His name is Tom. And the backdrop of the story is World War II. So, before I go on with the text, let us come to the introductory part of it that will give us a glimpse of the chapter also. It is the time of the World War. An American prisoner of war is washed ashore in a dying state and is found at the doorstep of a Japanese doctor. Should he save him as a doctor or hand him over to the army as a patriot? Now, the gist is very clear to us. Now, here only we get to know that an American prisoner of war is washed ashore in a dying state near the doorstep of a Japanese doctor. Now, should the doctor save him or should he hand him over to the army and become a patriot? That means there is a tussle between duty on one hand and patriotism on the other hand. Now, dear students, let us come to the text. Dr. Sadao's Hoki house was built on a spot of the Japanese coast where, as a little boy, he had often played. Now, his house is near a coastal region, and when he was a little boy, he played near this part of the region. As a boy, Sadao had climbed the pines, supporting himself on his bare feet, as he had seen men do in the South Seas when they climbed for coconuts. Now, when he was a boy, he used to climb the pine trees, just like he had seen a few men do the same thing while climbing the coconut trees near the South Seas. His father had taken him often to the islands of those seas, and never had he failed to say to the little brave boy at his side. And the little brave boy is Dr. Sadao. Those islands yonder, they are the stepping stones to the future for Japan. On many occasions, Sadao's father used to take Sadao on a tour, and they used to stand beside each other, and Sadao's father used to point to the islands far at a distance and would say to Sadao that those islands are the future, or rather to say, those islands are the stepping stones to the future for Japan. Where shall we step from them? Sadao had asked seriously. Who knows? His father had answered. Who can limit our future? It depends on what we make it. Now, Sadao's father was a very practical man, and in a very diplomatic way, in a very practical manner, he told Sadao that future depends on our endeavor, or rather to say, future depends on our present endeavor. Now, if we do well, then obviously the future is bright. Now, let us move on to the next page. Sadao had taken this into his mind as he did everything his father said. Like a dutiful boy, he did everything what his father told him to do. His father, who never joked or played with him, but who spent infinite pains upon him, who was his only son. His father never played with him, never joked with him, but his father was very serious about his son's future, that is Sadau's future. And Sadao did everything like a serious child, like a son, like a dutiful son. He did everything, whatever his father told him to do, because for Sadao's father, Sadao's studies was his serious concern. See, it is written, Sadao knew that his education was his father's chief concern. For this reason, he had been sent at 22 to America to learn all that could be learned of surgery and medicine. That is the reason, since study was his father's main concern, or since study was his father's chief concern, he was sent to America at the age of 22 for this reason, so that he can learn more about medicine and about surgery. He had come back at 30, that means 8 years he spent in America. When he returned back at that time, he was 30 years old. And before his father died, he had seen Sadao become famous not only as a surgeon but as a scientist. And before his father died, it was a proud moment for him when Sadao returned from America at the age of 30, spending 8 years there studying more about medicine and surgery, and became a famous surgeon as well as a scientist. And it was a proud moment for Sadao's father, who had seen his son to become a well established doctor before he died. So let me continue. Because he was perfecting a discovery which would render wounds entirely clean, he had not been sent abroad with the troops. Now, he is also doing an experiment. The experiment is that if any part of the body is wounded, it will be healed, and there will be no sign of any wound mark on the body. His medical experiment is related with this. Also, he knew there was some slight danger that the old general might need an operation for a condition for which he was now being treated medically. And Sadao was a special doctor, a very, very good doctor, and that was the reason why he was not sent along with the troops. And another reason might be that the general trusted no one else. The general trusted only Sadao. And if there would be a slight danger that the general need an operation, it's an emergency. If an emergency comes, then obviously it is Sadao who will do the needful and who can do the needful successfully. So I repeat, also he knew there was some slight danger that the old general might need an operation for a condition for which he was now being treated medically, and for this possibility Sadao was being kept in Japan, and this is for this reason Sadao was being kept in Japan, because the general wanted him in Japan. Otherwise, he would have been sent with the soldiers. He would have been sent with the troops. But as I told you all right now, that he was a very gifted doctor. He was an exceptional good surgeon. That was the reason the general trusted him a lot, trusted his diagnosis a lot, and that was the reason he was being kept in Japan. Now I am moving on to the next paragraph. In the previous paragraph, we get to know more about Sadao. Now let us move on to the next paragraph. Clouds were rising from the ocean now. The unexpected warmth of the past few days had at night drawn heavy fog from the cold waves. Sadao watched mist hide outlines of a little island near the shore, and then come creeping up the beach below the house, wreathing around the pines. Now, it's a beautiful evening scene being described with the evening breeze blowing, and there was, the heat wave that was for a few days. Now the heat wave had subsided a bit, and now a cool evening breeze is blowing. And Sadao is now standing near the balcony of his house. And it seems that fog has also covered the place entirely, and even fog can be seen covering up the topmost part of the pine trees. In a few minutes, fog would be wrapped about the house too. Then he would go into the room where Hannah, his wife, would be waiting for him with the two children. Now, after standing here, again he will go back to his room where his wife Hannah was waiting for him with their two children. That means now he is a family man. But at this moment, the door opened and she looked out. A dark blue woolen hayori. Hayori is actually a Japanese costume, a loose outer garment worn over the kimono. That means Hana also came and she also decided to stand nearby Sadao and enjoy the evening breeze and enjoy this moment with her husband. So I repeat, she looked out a dark blue woolen hayori over her kimono. She came to him affectionately and put her arm through his as he stood, smiled and said nothing. Now it seems that even Sadao haven't said anything right at that moment to Hannah. She stood near him and he smiled at her, but they haven't said anything to each other at that moment. They were actually enjoying the moment more than anything else. He had met Hannah in America. Now, the important thing is that we will get a background or we can get some backstory related with their love affair. So, it was the first time Sadao met Hannah and it was in America. But he had waited to fall in love with her until he was sure she was Japanese. Now, Sadao liked Hannah but waited for a long time to be sure enough about Hannah being a true Japanese. Otherwise, his father won't allow Sadao to marry Hannah. So Sadao had to be sure that Hannah was really a Japanese. His father would never have received her unless she had been pure in her race. And just now only I told you all, dear students, that otherwise Sadao's father would not have allowed Sadao to marry Hannah unless and until Hannah was pure of her race. That means unless and until Hannah was a pure Japanese. He wondered often whom he would have married if he had not met Hannah. Now, Sadao, sometimes this idea used to crop at the back of his mind. Sometimes he used to think at the back of his mind if he would not have met Hannah, whom he would have married. And by what luck he had found her in the most casual way, by chance literally, at an American professor's house, and luck favored him and he went on interacting with Hannah, and the meeting point of their interaction and intimacy in love was at a American professor's house. The professor and his wife had been kind people. Kind means generous people, anxious to do something for their foreign students. Now, the professor to whose house Sadao used to go for studies and also for a bit of guidance related with his career and profession as a doctor. There he met with Hannah. The professor and his wife, they were both very generous. They were both very kind-hearted people, and they could do anything for their foreign students in order to make those foreign students' life comfortable. And the students, though bored, had accepted this kindness. Sadao had often told Hannah how nearly he had not gone to Professor Hale's house that night. The rooms were so small, the food so bad. The professor's wife, so voluble, used to chat a lot. But he had gone, and there he had found Hannah, a new student, and had felt he would love her if it were at all possible. Now the food was of inferior quality. Even the rooms were a bit narrow and slightly congested. And even the professor's wife, being a bit talkative, voluble in nature, despite that, Sadao used to go every time because Hannah used to be there. And that was the beginning of their relationship. Now, we get to know a bit of backstory regarding Sadao. We get to know about Hannah also, and the backstory related with their relationship or related with their affair. Now he felt his hand on his arm and was aware of the pleasure it gave him, even though they had been married years enough to have the two children. Now they are happy couple. They are a couple who are genuinely in love with one another, and they are married for a long time to have two children right now, for they had not married heedlessly in America. Heedlessly means in a very uh, quickly, without taking a decision hurriedly. They haven't married in America. They waited for the right time. They had finished their work at school and had come home to Japan, and when his father had seen her, the marriage had been arranged in the old Japanese way, although Sadao and Hana had talked everything over beforehand. Now, they haven't taken any rash decision of marrying in America. They both completed their studies. They came back to Japan, and then they got married in the old traditional way. And Sadao and Hana had talked everything about their relationship, about the future that is in front of them. Even Sadao told everything to Hana regarding his Orthodox father also. So they had talked, interacted with each other long enough beforehand, before they gave justice to their relationship. They were perfectly happy. She laid her cheek against his arm. So it seems that they are having a very cozy moment with one another. At this time, something strange both of them will see. It was at this moment that both of them saw something black come out of the mist. It was a man. At this moment only, they saw something, a figure. Then they realized that a man. Then they realized that figure was that of a man. And that man was slowly coming out of the mist. He was flung up out of the ocean, flung. It seems that this man came all the way from the ocean, thrown by the ocean. And it seems that this is a very mysterious shot of a scene by both of them. He staggered a few steps, his body outlined against the mist, his arms above his head. Then the curled mist hid him again. Now he was seen, this man was staggering, not moving in a very normal manner. It seems that this man had no powers in his body to move on. The man was staggering a bit. Then all of a sudden the man was concealed again by the fog. Then again from The fog dispersed. Again that man was visible. Who is that? Hannah cried. She dropped Sadau's arm and they both leaned over the railing of the veranda because it was a strange sight. They never ever expected that they will see a sight like this. It was a strange scene that they had seen, and it seems that both of them slightly bent over the veranda to see more clearly if it is visible to them. Now they saw him again. The man was on his hands and knees crawling. Now that man, as I told you, he doesn't have that bodily strength in him, left in him, so that he could move forward. He went on crawling a bit. That means this man is weak, this man is tired, or most probably this man is injured also. Then they saw him fall on his face and lie there. And finally, they saw that this man who was staggering few minutes earlier, finally this man fall on his face and this man was not moving. Who is that? Hannah cried. She dropped Sadau's arm and they both leaned over the railing of the veranda. Now they saw him again. The man was on his hands and knees crawling. Then they saw him fall on his face and lie there. It's a mysterious scene. They haven't expected to have seen this. They haven't thought of it, but they have seen this. And they are very much surprised with this. A fisherman, perhaps, Sadao said, washed from his boat. He ran quickly down the steps, and behind him Hannah came, her white sleeves flying because of the breeze. Now they went on towards that particular place where that man was lying. A mile or two away on either side, there were fishing villages. A mile or two on both the sides, there were fishing villages. So Sadao initially guessed that maybe this man was a fisherman. But here was only the bare and lonely coast, dangerous with rocks. The surf beyond the beach was spiked with rocks. Spiked means covered by rocks. Somehow the man had managed to come through them. He must be badly torn. Now obviously because the place is covered with sharp rocks, and maybe this man is badly injured, and it seems that his dresses are badly torn also. They saw when they came towards him that indeed it was so. The sand on one side of him had already a strand of red soaking through. Now when they came close to this man, they found that this man's body is covered with blood and sand. He is wounded, Sadao exclaimed. He made haste. Haste means, dear students, hurry. To the man who lay motionless, his face in the sand. His face is covered with sand, even he is bleeding a bit, and blood and sand mixed up. We can say the body is covered with sand and blood. He was in wet rags of garments. Sadao stopped, Hannah at his side, and turned the man's head. They saw the face, and it seems that they both came close to the man and found that the man's body is covered with sand and blood, and it seems that his face is covered with sand. Now Sadao decided to turn the man to see the face of the man, and the Sadao came to the conclusion, because he is a doctor, he came to the conclusion that this man is wounded. So dear students, I stop my audio presentation right here. In my next audio presentation, I will be continuing from the next line. Dear students, kindly go through this audio presentation, and if there is any problem anywhere, please ask me and clarify your doubts if any. Thank you students. Thank you all.